Hello there. This is going to be part 2 of Colorado Coral and how to create uh, laser cut forms such as these from a file that we created in Cinema 4D. And so I'm going to start off today with the file we ended up with in the previous video. So I'm in Adobe Photoshop and go ahead and open this file up. And this is just a black and white image that we created, and what we need to do right now in order to make this ready for laser cutting is to create a vector file. And so there's a really nice, easy way to do that in Photoshop, and I like doing this method versus doing the image trace in Illustrator just because I feel like I have a little bit more control and it's a little easier. So I'm going to say select color range, and I'm going to go in here and select my black. You can turn the fuzziness up pretty high because we want to have a really clean selection. So the white right now is showing us what is being selected and the black is not being selected since I've clicked on the black. So we'll hit OK, and you can see that's generated an image selection around that shape. And so now simply all we have to do is go to Paths and say Make Work Path. And if you haven't used the Make Work Path tool, it gives you the option of going from 0 tolerance up to a 2 intolerance. And so let's just show the difference between those. So we'll start off with 0. I lied. It lets you go from 0.5. So we'll see what that does. And as you can see, that is a really tight tolerance. And what it's doing is giving us tons and tons and tons of points. And that is not what we want. So I'm going to hit undo. One more time, we'll say make work path. And let's go to the upper limit. So I believe 2 is as high as it will let you do. And we'll hit that one and see what happens. Now you can see that this one gives us very few points, but it's not doing a great job of actually sticking to the boundaries. And so I like to shoot somewhere in the middle. So we'll just go make work path and 1.0. And I believe for most things that using a tolerance of 1 works out pretty well. You get fairly smooth paths, it generates nice curves, and gives you a good result. And so from here what we'll do is just get our selection tool, and we'll hit Command C, and I'm going to pop over into Illustrator where I will make a new file. And so the Glowforge bed is, my laser cutter bed is 12 inches by 20 inches at a maximum. But I'm actually going to use some small pieces of cardboard from like boxes and things that I've collected. So I want my finished product to be around 4 by 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new document in here that is 4 by 4. And color mode is really not important at this point. We'll hit create, and because I've copied this out of Photoshop already, all I have to do is hit paste, and we'll say compound shape fully editable and hit OK. And you can see that it's much larger. So I'll go ahead and just make sure I scale this down, holding Option and Shift to the size that I want to. And this size can be scaled up after we actually get into the Glowforge machine as well. So the next thing I like to do is to set this up for the Glowforge. It wants to see outlines, so I'll just come out here to the outline section or the stroke section and select black, and there we have it. The Glowforge laser cutter likes to have PDF files, so I'll say File, Save As, and I'm going to save this on my computer. And let's see, I have some files set up already, so we'll call this Colorado Coral 001. That'll be great. And we don't want to save an Illustrator file, we actually want to save out a PDF. And so I'll just go ahead and save that PDF file out, hit save, and we should be ready to go. So here we are in my Glowforge account, and what we need to do now is just go into my Create section, and I'm going to say Upload from File. Now I just need to then find the file that I recently created and select that PDF. It will tell me my design is being prepared and arranged. And then it will load me up and show my actual Glowforge setup. And so from here, I'm seeing a preview of the cardboard sheet that I laid down. I just need to arrange my file, and it should come in exactly at the size that I had it in Illustrator. And from here, because I'm not using a Glowforge material, I need to go ahead and create my own specific material height. This is very thin, so I'm gonna say use an uncertified. I'm just gonna say 0.05, we'll say. It's a very thin sheet of material. And from there, now we need to set up our settings for the cutting. And so we'll go in here and just go into cut, and I'm going to say manual. Just because I've done this before, I know that I need to go pretty slow. 500 is very fast speed for me to be cutting, so I'm just going to manually type in 300, and we'll just do an 80% power. And I'll go ahead and put this on 2 passes, and that means it'll do the entire shape twice just to make sure that we get a good cut. I've found with these kinds of things it's usually better if we don't try to do the cut all at once. So we're going to do 2 passes and we'll see how it goes. So once we've got everything set up and we're happy with the way it looks, we just hit print. It'll go through its processes of calculating everything, and then I'll meet you back downstairs and we'll show it actually being cut out of the Glowforge itself. Okay, so it's telling me that my print's ready to go, and it's going to take 1 minute and 16 seconds, pretty fast. And let's go check it out. So back at the Glowforge machine, and you can see that my button right here is blinking, and this is basically saying, hey, we're ready. As soon as you click this button, it's going to go ahead and start doing the build. So I'll go ahead and click that, and we'll watch the magic happen. So it's quite noisy, but as you can see, we got a pretty good cut, and it went through almost the first pass, so I probably didn't even need to do 2 of those. But here we go. Go back upstairs and we'll take a look at this next to the computer so we can see the final output. But here we go, where you can see that it looks very much like the shape we created, and now we can play around with this and figure out how we might use it in an art piece. Sometimes I like to dye things or use sort of a coffee staining technique. So here we are back at the computer, and as you can see, this shape looks very much identical to the shape that we created inside Photoshop. So I hope this has been useful for you, and I hope you learned something that you can implement into your own creative process. And I'll hope to see you in the future on another video. Cheers.